Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay and we're talking about Smackdown from Salt Lake City, Utah, where our main headline is Just Keep Being a Paul Heyman Guy, where we have to admit that the Beyond the Mat segments are maybe the best in the world for 2024, but we'll get to those in a minute. So we, as always, will start with the matches at the top of the show, so we just keep fighting to the bell as Chelsea Green scored a major upset with an unprettier on Belair Davenport to find a way to get to the semifinals of the Women's United States Championship Tournament. And Chelsea is the ones, as she was able to start off the final sequence with a superplex on Belair, and then somehow, even after being thrown into the barricade by Bianca, she was able to take advantage of Bianca's absence and avoid a Kamigoye and finished it off, reversing it into an unprettier. So Chelsea, unbelievably, goes to 2-4 in multi-person singles matches, which is better than her one-on-one record, since it seems that she needs a little extra help to get to the finals of a match to get a win. And more importantly, however, she does advance to face Bayley, where she will have to deal with her one-on-one. So Bianca is the twos, and unfortunately for her, she just stopped fighting when the Titantron showed that Jade Cargill was lying bloodied on top of a hood of a car in which the windshield had been broken. So Bianca should have just finished the match and then gone to help her friend, but she just couldn't help herself and ran out right away, which cost her the chance to advance in the tournament. So Bianca falls to 0-6 in multi-person singles matches. Pretty incredible just how good she is at both tag team matches and in one-on-one matches for her to be this bad in that type of a match. But nonetheless, we can't give out any STFs here because we simply do not know who pulled off the stunt to injure Jade. But we have 5 pretty obvious candidates, even though one of them, Nia Jax, denied the allegations when she spoke to Nick Aldis later. And we also have one additional possible assailant that may have had a motivation to help Chelsea win this one, but we don't want to jump to conclusions here. So for now, we'll just let it go, and we hope that Jade will be better, as she had to go to the hospital, and it is already announced that she will miss her own triple threat match in the tournament next week, but we'll just have to wait and see who it will be that they get to replace her. So Belair Davenport is the threes, as she was rusty on this one, as this was her first match in 3 months since August, when I was personally in attendance when she was actually able to beat Naomi one-on-one. So the fact that Nick Aldis could not get her into another singles match since then is really just very poor booking on his part. But unfortunately, Belair took all of the devastation in this one, suffering all kinds of big damage. And of course, that cost her, so she goes to just 1-3 in all singles matches. So for Bianca having to leave her match to attend to her friend, we have no choice but to give this a not okay. Up next, we just keep being that insecure, as LA Knight was able to overcome the ominous presence of Shinsuke Nakamura to yet again retain the title. So LA Knight is the ones, as he reversed a Phantom Driver right into a BFT to defeat Santos Escobar in all 5 of their matches this year, including 2 straight title opportunities, as this is incredibly his 9th title defense already since he got that title at SummerSlam. And Knight also regains the win for the most one-on-one wins of all of the men on SmackDown. So Santos Escobar is the twos, as he was nearly able to take advantage of Nakamura's distractions, first after Nakamura's vignette, where he said that he knows Knight better than himself and called Knight insecure. So Escobar attacked Knight before the bell to gain that upper hand, so this one will cost him his 9th fine of the year But then later, when Nakamura showed up at the top of the ramp, Knight took his eyes off the prize, so Escobar landed a Hurricane Rana, then a Frog Splash, and almost hit that Phantom Driver. But Knight was ready to turn that into a BFT, so Escobar takes the loss in his first match in 3 months, in which his last one happened to be another US title match against LA Knight, so he falls to 7-5 in one-on-one matches. And for Nakamura, he attacked Knight again after the bell, this time finishing him off with a Kinshasa while Knight's head was up against the turnbuckle. So for the second straight week, Nakamura will pick up an STF. This time it'll be his third fine of the year. And though Escobar couldn't quite get this one done during the match, it is Nakamura yet again making this one more interesting, so we will give this an okay. In our third match, we just keep riling up the competition as Nia forced a DQ when she yanked Naomi's legs and then threw her into the barricade, leading to an all-out brawl between the War Games participants. And Naomi and Bayley are the ones, as they'll take the DQ win, but they also suffered a 2-on-3 attack to Nia and her minions before they were both bailed out by Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, who had a kendo stick and also another brand new face mask. This time it was a black one, surely to try to look just like Katana Chan's. But for the match, they do get their second straight win and go to 3-2 in traditional tags. While Tiffy and Candice in their first match together, well, they just could not please their queen, as they were not on the same page on this one, so Nia was forced to get involved, so they dropped to 0-1 in traditional tags. But Nia, for forcing that DQ, she will have to get a 1-week suspension, which will be her 9th of the year. And in our main event, we just keep proving to be a better #1 contender, as Montez Ford twice avoided a fairy tale ending and channeled his aggression to defeat Tommaso Ciampa. So Ford is the ones, and this was his first one-on-one match since October of 2023. But he continued to show more focus than he had in recent times, and it was enough to find a way to get a pin on Ciampa without having to go to the sky. So since this was his first singles match in over a year, he does improve to 1-0. But for Ciampa, he is the twos, and even though he landed a devastating knee to Ford's head, he was not able to put it away with a fairy tale ending, so he suffers his first loss of the year, falling to 2-1 in one-on-one matches. But more importantly, he attacked Ford from behind after the match and continued to show just how angry he is nowadays, since he is not a #1 contender for the tag team titles. So then everyone came out to try to put out his fire, with Angelo Dawkins first joining the fray, then Johnny Gargano, and finally the Motor City Machine Guns having to separate DIY from each other. And even though they helped out Gargano here, the Machine Guns refused to put DIY ahead of the Street Profits as the #1 contender earlier in the night. So this was pretty good one-on-one action for two competitors that are usually in tag team action, so we will give this an okay. And beyond the mat for Smackdown, we have to go to our main headline of Just Keep Being a Paul Heyman Guy, as the wise man returned just 1 week after we found out that his phone had been disconnected to show up and bring along CM Punk to be the 5th member for the OG Bloodline's War Games team. But this one started with Solo Sikoa demanding that Roman Reigns issue his terms of surrender to the new Bloodline so that they could all come together and run the WWE for decades to come, which does sound like a really good offer. But of course, Roman Reigns is way too stubborn to accept that very generous offer, so the 4 members of the OG Bloodline look to be out of options for a 5th member when Roman Reigns flatly refused to accept the possibility of asking Cody Rhodes for the first time or Seth Rollins for the 3rd time, even though it was the new Bloodline who yet again took out Rhodes at the end of Monday Night Raw. So unfortunately, the Usos and Sami Zayn fell in line behind the tyrant Roman Reigns because they agreed to go into battle 4-on-5 and even agreed that they would die for the cause. Wow. So Roman Reigns, is he a cult leader or something now? This is just getting out of hand. Sammy, Jay, Jimmy, snap out of this, guys. Snap out of this. You just need to walk away and get out of this before anything worse happens to you. But at the end of the night, all four of them showed up in the middle of the ring, facing Solo Sikoa and the New Bloodline to see if Reigns would indeed accept those terms of surrender. But before Roman Reigns could say a word, it was proven yet again that he has the luckiest horseshoe stuck right up the middle of his behind, because Paul Heyman came to the rescue, bringing out the best in the world to be the second best Bloodline savior. So CM Punk, the last I recall, you were fighting against the Shield for 3 straight months from November 2013 all the way through the Royal Rumble of 2014. That surely contributed to you leaving the WWE when you were fighting against Seth Rollins as number 1 and 2 in the Royal Rumble before you were finally eliminated by Kane. And even though you were 11 and 4 in all of your battles against the Shield at that time, you did lose your last 3 fights, including a one-on-one matchup against Roman Reigns. So I can't imagine what kind of favor that you owe to Paul Heyman for you to actually accept becoming that 5th member of the OG Bloodline's War Games team. And I have to admit, I am really angry at the result of this, as CM Punk should be nowhere near this feud. But I will also at the same time admit that this was pretty entertaining. So unfortunately and very reluctantly, for now, we'll give this a double okay. And lastly, we just keep fighting the urge to fight right now. But Kevin Owens kept his word and he showed up for the face-to-face with Cody Rhodes, though he was quite far away in the stands. But nonetheless, he said everything he wanted to say as he spit some incredible fire at Rhodes, saying everything that happened was Rhodes' fault because he fought the Bloodline for 4 years. And Roman Reigns and the OG Bloodline tried to end his career over and over and over again, so he fought beside Rhodes against the Bloodline and even helped him to finish the story. But Roman Reigns got mad when he finally decided to come back and he needed a partner, so Cody Rhodes immediately agreed to be his partner. After all of those things that the Bloodline did to Kevin Owens, this was just one step way too far. With Owens saying that the Bloodline tried to take everything away that Owens loved ever since he was 11. So that really tugged at the old heartstrings there, we have to say. But Rhodes, of course, had to say something, I guess, so he talked about KO being a victim and talked about self-sabotage, which, come on, no one believes that. KO just keeps fighting. Rhodes did admit that everyone knows that KO is great, but of course had to add a little bit extra, saying everyone knows this except for KO. And he ended his statement by saying that KO crossed the line on the wrong guy, Randy Orton. But KO agreed that he would take a match against Rhodes, but it would be on his terms, and reiterated the same thing as last week, that he would just be doing his job. But if KO would cross the line against Randy Orton for a man that he said he loves, then just imagine what KO will do to Rhodes, a person that he says that he hates. But Rhodes had to get in the last word by saying that he doesn't think that KO hates him, but instead that he hates himself. So we've chronicled this over and over and over again. KO has in fact fought the Bloodline longer and more often than anyone else in the entire WWE, and for Rhodes to say anything against KO to this fact is simply not smart at all. We simply have to take KO's side here. He was simply being a friend to Cody Rhodes to fight alongside him against the Bloodline, but Rhodes immediately turned his back the very second that Roman Reigns returned. Just completely unacceptable behavior. And when he saw Rhodes and Reigns fight together at Bad Blood, he just couldn't wait a second longer and had to take him out right there. And as Rhodes was leaving, he walked past Carmelo Hayes, who unfortunately now has nothing to do with Andrade, but instead is just hanging out with Giovanni Vinci. But Hayes couldn't help himself and he yelled out to Rhodes and said that KO is indeed telling the truth, which is what everyone else already knows. And I admit that I hate to have to agree with Carmelo Hayes here, but in this situation, there is nothing but the facts here, and the facts are that Hayes is right, KO is spitting facts. So for that, of course, even if Rhodes didn't say anything, maybe that would have made it even a little bit better, but nonetheless, KO by himself for this, double okay. We did a lot of talking about Survivor Series, both War Games and the traditional format on the OK Not OK podcast this week. But if you missed any of those episodes, go right on over here to check those out. And if you do that, just like the way that the Beyond the Mat segments went tonight, that would be double okay.